Hello and welcome to the Hobby Lifestyle. This week we're going to take the time to show you guys the pack bait that I use. It's 3 simple ingredients mixed together, and about 20 minutes later you're ready to go fishing. So here we go, let's get started. First off, let's start with the ingredients. The list of ingredients for this bait are as follows: 1 resealable bag, 1 box of strawberry flavored gelatin dessert, 1 can of whole kernel sweet corn, in this case it's super sweet corn, 1 8-ounce box of panko breadcrumbs, and a can opener to open a can of corn. And that should be all that's required to put this bait together. Now we will start the assembly process of our pack bait. And as usual, the most difficult part is getting the bags open. But we will start with our panko breadcrumbs here. We put those in the bag first. I use a Ziploc bag just because it makes it easy. It's only 1 container. You could obviously use a bowl or a bucket or anything else to mix this. I just prefer the bag method because then it's ready to go. So now we have our panko breadcrumbs in the bag. We will add our strawberry flavored gelatin dessert. I just pour that in on top. Then I close the bag and I mix this up. There again, the Jello is a little heavier, I think, and a lot smaller obviously than the panko. So what will happen is you'll notice that as you're stirring this up, the Jello will end up at the bottom of the bag, which is not a problem. What I like to do is just, like I said, give it a good stir like this. And then I like to use, just as my last final shakes here, I like to turn it upside down and shake it towards the Ziploc part so that I get as much Jello as I can down at the bottom. So when I flip it over, the Jello is pretty much on top. Okay, so then we take our can of sweet corn. We pour out the fluid as much as possible. So out of this can I got approximately half a glass. Then what you do is you dump the corn in. Make sure you get it all. You want it all. So once the corn's been added, it creates this really nice sweet corn strawberry scent, I guess. You can smell the sweet corn, and you can also smell the strawberry flavoring in there. So with just the initial amount of liquid in there, you can see that the panko has turned from a bright white to a kind of a slight pinkish color. You can still see that there is some white. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there is still some white crumbs in there. You can see the corn in there. So it's still just a little dry because we want this to be able to form up and make a ball. As you can see right here, it's not forming. It does not make a snowball at all. It just crumbles still. So what we'll do is we'll take and we'll add about half the liquid that we have in the cup. That's a little more than half, but this should work. That was actually about 3/4 of the fluid we had in the cup, but that's okay. And then we go back to the mixing process here. Make sure you get the corners here. That's where the liquid's going to want to collect. So you want to make sure that you always get the corners well. I just stick my fingers actually in the corners and then stir. But okay, it's starting to look better. We're getting a nice consistent pink color throughout the panko here. As you can see, there's a nice mixed corn in there as well. So when you get to about that color pink, it's just about perfect. There again, it takes a little bit to set up, so once you put it in the fridge, it will continue to set up further. But what you want is for it to be able to make a ball. As you can see, when I squeeze this, it does kind of form, and that's what you want really. It will, as it sits for about 15-20 minutes, it will set up even more and make a really almost like a paste. As you can see, it's already getting stickier. But that's what you want right there, is you just want it to stick together. You don't want it to be like a paste because you don't want it to get super hard. You want it to break down a little bit in the water. But that's about perfect right there. That's what we're looking for. And then to put it on, you take about a golf ball size, maybe a ping pong ball size piece like this, and you just wedge it onto the feeder. One of the questions that we get most often is how do we load the method feeder? In that case, you just take a little out of the bag. There again, as you can see, this is really starting to set up nicely, kind of turning into consistency. So what I like to do is take a ball about the size of a golf ball, maybe a ping pong ball. Get it all kind of wedged up in your hand here, get it molded nicely. Then take it and just squish it on. I like to give her the old two-hander here to make sure she gets good and squished in. And that bait is now ready to fish. That bait is now ready to fish. As you can see, it's well packed in there. What you would do with your hook then is your hook would normally be attached. You'd just take your hook and then stick it in the bait somewhere where there's no corn. And not in the frame itself, but just in the side so that it just holds the hook. And then when you throw that out there and the break starts to break down, then the hook will come out all on its own. So that's how we run our method feeders here. There again, we are not experts. We are just learning. I've only been in the hobby for a couple of years. But this is the method that I found that works the best for me. As you can imagine, that's pretty solid on there now. It's pretty good. It'll stay on there probably half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. In the current, it won't last quite as long, but it will take a while to bleed off. There again, once you throw this out there, you don't want your bait to move. You want to make sure you leave your bait right where it's at. When you reel down to it, you just want to reel it tight, because you want to leave this in the pile of food that'll break off when this does break down. So.